It was a bright, sunny afternoon, and the hotel lobby buzzed with life. Luggage wheels rolled over polished floors. The soft clinking of glasses echoed from the bar nearby. People checked in, chatted, and moved about in every direction, some in business suits, others in vacation shorts. The air smelled like fresh flowers and strong coffee. In the middle of it all stood a couple. They weren't loud or flashy. In fact, they looked peaceful, even in the middle of the crowd. The man was tall, with deep brown skin, and a kind smile. He wore a light gray suit, and his hand gently held the fingers of the woman next to him. She had pale skin, soft blonde hair, and a sparkle in her eyes that matched his. She wore a simple but beautiful white dress, not quite a wedding gown, at least not yet. They whispered to each other and laughed quietly, standing close like they had done it 100 times before. Everything about them said love. The kind of love that doesn't need to be shouted out loud to be heard. Across the lobby, near a row of velvet chairs, a woman sat and watched them. Her lips were pressed into a thin line, and her eyes narrowed as she stared. Her fancy handbag sat stiffly in her lap, and her pearl necklace gleamed under the lobby lights. She looked out of place, not because of how she dressed, but because of how she glared at the couple, like she had just seen something rotten. She watched them for a long time, her gaze sharp and heavy, while her fingers slowly tightened around her phone. Something told her this couple didn't belong here, and she was about to make sure someone else thought the same. The woman didn't wait long. She stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked briskly to the front desk. Her heels clicked sharply against the floor. The young man at the counter greeted her with a smile, but her face stayed cold. "I need to report something," she said in a low voice, glancing toward the couple. "There are people here who don't belong. I'm not sure how they got in, but they're making guests feel uncomfortable." The hotel worker looked confused. "Ma'am, is there a problem?" She nodded. "Yes, that couple over there," she said, tilting her head slightly in their direction. "They've been loitering. They aren't dressed like they're staying here. I don't think they're even guests. You should call security before it becomes an issue." The staff member glanced over and saw the couple still standing quietly, talking and smiling. There was no sign of trouble, but before he could respond, the woman had already pulled out her phone and was dialing. "I'll call security myself," she said, loud enough for others nearby to hear. This place used to be high class. The couple noticed the sudden shift in the room. Whispers began. A few people turned their heads. The bride leaned in closer to her fiancé, her smile slowly fading. "What's going on?" she whispered. "I don't know," he answered, squeezing her hand. "But I think it's about us." Moments later, 2 security guards appeared from the hallway behind the desk. They scanned the room until the woman waved them over. She pointed at the couple with a sharp, accusing finger. "Those two," she said firmly. "They don't belong here. I don't feel safe with them around." The guards walked toward the couple. People nearby grew quiet. The joyful mood from before was gone, replaced by tension and curious stares. "Excuse me," one of the guards said, looking at the groom. "Can we speak with you for a moment?" The groom stayed calm. The bride nodded slightly, her voice shaking. "Of course, is something wrong?" The woman watched with satisfaction, standing off to the side. In her mind, justice was being served, but she had no idea what was about to happen next. The 2 security guards stood in front of the couple, their faces serious but polite. One of them glanced at the groom's reservation card while the other kept an eye on the woman who had called them. "Sir, can you please show us some ID and your reservation details?" the first guard asked. The groom, calm but firm, reached into his jacket pocket and handed over his ID and confirmation email on his phone. "Here you go. We have a wedding scheduled in the ballroom upstairs. We're just waiting for some friends to arrive." The bride smiled softly, hoping this would end quickly. "We're really excited. It's been a long time coming." The guards looked at each other and then back at the documents. "Everything seems to be in order," the second guard said quietly. The woman who had called security suddenly stepped forward, her voice rising. "You don't belong here. This hotel isn't for people like you." Her words cut through the quiet lobby like a knife. The groom's smile faded. "Excuse me, what do you mean by people like us?" The woman smirked, clearly pleased with herself. You know exactly what I mean. The bride's voice was steady but filled with hurt. We have every right to be here. Our families have booked this place for our wedding. I don't know why you think your opinion matters. Guests nearby began to whisper. Some looked uncomfortable. A few shook their heads slowly. The security guards shifted awkwardly. Ma'am, please calm down. We don't tolerate discrimination here. But the woman wasn't done. This is my hotel too. I'm a paying guest. One of the guards finally said. Miss, we've verified the couple's reservation. There is no reason to question their stay. Please step back. Her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. She looked at the couple, then at the growing crowd watching. Fine, she spat. But this isn't over. The groom took a deep breath, turning to the bride. Let's just wait for our friends upstairs. There's no need to argue here. The bride nodded, squeezing his hand tightly. They started to walk toward the elevators. As they passed the woman, she suddenly reached into her purse and pulled out a small folded paper. She opened it quickly, then looked up, eyes wide as if she had just realized something shocking. The lobby went silent again. The bride stopped and turned back. The woman's hand shook as she held out the paper. I didn't know, she whispered. Everyone leaned in to see what was happening. The paper was a flyer for a local wedding dress designer. But this was no ordinary designer. She was famous for celebrating diversity and creating dresses that told stories of love breaking barriers. The bride's dress was made by this designer. The woman's cold stare melted into something else entirely. The bride stepped forward, her eyes steady and calm. Slowly she turned to face the woman fully. The hotel lobby seemed to hold its breath. With a gentle smile she lifted the hem of her dress, just enough for everyone to see the intricate details, the delicate embroidery, the vibrant colors hidden beneath the white fabric, and the small symbol stitched near the neckline. It was a symbol representing unity and hope, the signature mark of the designer, who celebrated love across all races and backgrounds. This dress, the bride said softly, was made by a designer who believes love is stronger than hate or fear. The woman who had called security blinked, tears beginning to fill her eyes. The sharpness in her gaze was replaced by confusion, then pain. The groom took a step beside his bride, his voice calm but full of pride. We're here today to celebrate love, our love. It hasn't been easy for us. Our families didn't always understand. Some people still don't. He looked at the woman, not with anger, but with kindness. But we didn't let that stop us. We fought for this day. The bride nodded. Every stitch in this dress tells our story, the story of two people who refuse to be divided by skin color or class. We want the world to see that love is the most powerful thing we have. The lobby was silent. The usual buzz of voices gone. Guests who had been watching from a distance now stepped closer, eyes softening. The woman's shoulders trembled, and a tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it hastily but couldn't hide the emotion. I'm sorry, she whispered. I was wrong. I judged without knowing. Her voice cracked as she spoke. I've been afraid of change. Afraid of what I don't understand. But seeing you both, I realize how small my fears were compared to what you have. The bride reached out and gently touched the woman's hand. It's never too late to open your heart. Around them, the tension melted into something warmer. Respect, understanding, and hope. For a moment the hotel lobby felt less like a place of judgment, and more like a place where love could truly belong. The hotel lobby, once thick with tension, now buzzed with a different kind of energy. Guests who had been silent spectators began to clap softly, some nodding in approval, and others smiling warmly at the couple. A few even approached to offer congratulations. The woman who had called security stood to the side, still wiping tears from her face. The hotel staff quietly approached her. One of the managers spoke gently but firmly. Ma'am, your behavior was not appropriate. We ask that you respect all guests and their right to be here. If you cannot, we will have to ask you to leave. The woman looked around, embarrassed and overwhelmed. She nodded silently, and gathered her things, her head lowered as she walked out of the lobby. Security turned to the couple, this time with genuine smiles. We're very sorry for the trouble. Congratulations on your wedding day. We hope everything goes beautifully. The groom gave a small grateful nod. Thank you. The bride exhaled deeply, her hand still tightly clasped in his. It's been a long day, she said softly, a relieved smile returning to her lips. As they moved toward the elevator, several guests came up to them, sharing kind words and expressing admiration for their courage. One elderly woman said, "Your love is beautiful. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise." The couple exchanged a look, their hearts full. In that moment, surrounded by strangers who had become unexpected allies, they felt seen and accepted. The bride glanced down at her dress once more, then back up with a quiet confidence. "Love always wins," she said. And in that busy hotel lobby, under the bright afternoon sun, love had indeed won. This story is a reminder that love has the power to break down walls built by fear, ignorance, and hate. Sometimes people judge others without understanding their stories or struggles, but when we take a moment to see the person behind the surface, we find something much deeper, something worth celebrating. The couple's courage showed everyone that love is stronger than prejudice. It can bring people together, even in places filled with suspicion and doubt. And sometimes, love can even change hearts that seemed closed forever. In a world that can feel divided, stories like this give hope. They remind us to be kind, to listen, and to stand up for what is right. Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves to love and be loved without fear. If this story touched you, remember to look for the love in the people around you. It's there, waiting to be seen.